What's up, everyone? Welcome inside another edition of the Straight Up Saints podcast presented by Buku Media and Level Water. Level Water is a New Orleans-based alkaline water that goes through 11 stages of purification as infused with bioavailable minerals to deliver superior taste and hydration. Now, before we get into this one, guys, you can just drop your comments in. I'll get to all of them, but this is going to be a really quick Straight Up Saints because, frankly, it's just an emergency podcast for the emergency news, which is Michael Thomas getting surgery again and then being out for an extended period of time because we are Saints fans, and Saints fans can't have nice things. So Ian Rappaport and Nick Underhill were the first ones to come out with it. He's expected to miss the start of the 2021 season, so this is the second time that Michael Thomas has had surgery on his ankle, which he injured in week 1 of last year, which was in the middle of the blowout against the Bucs, where he really didn't need to be in, and I'm not going to talk about that part, but the timing of the surgery is obviously brutal for Michael Thomas because if it happens in June and there's a 4-month recovery period, that means you're missing June, you're missing July, you're missing August, you're missing September, and that's if you go to schedule. So if everything works out, Michael Thomas is ready to play in October, and then you literally don't have your best wide receiver for a whole month of the season when you're entering a year with a different quarterback, whether that's Jameis or Taysom Hill. That actually doesn't really matter right now because regardless of who's going to be under center, they're not going to have their number one wide receiver. And there's just so many things to discuss with this particular thing. And I know you guys are obviously pretty damn disappointed right now. And I don't blame you guys at all. But I'll just try and navigate through this. Obviously, I'm extremely frustrated, not because of the injury news, because when something like this happens, you need to just put your emotions to the side and say, okay, it's an injury. You hope he gets back to all pro form. Sure. My frustration is why is there a large portion of Saints fans who for the last couple of weeks have said, man, or not the last couple of weeks, excuse me, the last couple of months have said this team needs another wide receiver. And nope, didn't get one in the draft until the 7th round, which you're asking a lot of a 7th round pick to do something great. All they do is really go to the undrafted market the last couple of years. And every year we say they can use another receiver. They can use another receiver. And we're always told, well, receiver really isn't that big of a need. Okay, well, Michael Thomas is going to miss time again, and now you're going to rely on a receiving corps that has Traquan Smith, Marquez Callaway, Deontay Harris, Kawan Baker. And look, I like all of those guys, and I think all of those guys can play a decent role in this offense, especially if Jameis airs it out if he's the starting quarterback. But, man, you're asking a lot for Traquan Smith to be your wide receiver 1 and Callaway to be your wide receiver 2 and Deontay Harris to be your wide receiver 3. Like, are you kidding me right now? That's a lot to ask of those guys, and we would be delusional to sit here and say this offense is going to be okay because I know a lot of people are saying, well, Chris, they didn't have Michael Thomas last year and they won a lot of games. Sure, but last year's team is not this year's team. Like, it's not the same team at all. It's completely different. For better or worse, we're going to find that out. But I think it would just be unfair to say, well, because they won games last year without Michael Thomas, they'll win them this year. So obviously there's a couple things to digest, but what this means for the offense is pretty simple. You don't have your best possession receiver. You don't have your best receiver point blank period. And you don't have the guy that has that edge on offense, because there's no guy on offense who has more of an edge than Michael Thomas. That guy takes everything personal in a good way. So who is going to step up? I don't even have that answer for you. I'd love to say it's Traquan Smith, but that was me assuming Traquan would be the wide receiver 2. You get what I'm saying? Now Traquan Smith has to be your wide receiver 1. That's insane. But this is why we sit here, even months ago when the draft was going around, banging on the table saying, draft Dwayne Eskridge or draft Elijah Moore or draft, any fucking receiver that you don't have to sit there now and look at your depth chart and say, oh yeah, we're pretty screwed. And guess what? You cannot find someone who is going to solve all your issues, And I know everyone's going to talk about the wide receiver market and what they could do. I don't think Des Bryant's going to come through that door and save them, nor would that even happen, because even if he comes through the door, Des Bryant now is not who he was 6 years ago. So that doesn't even matter. So it's going to be interesting. And as for people, because a lot of people are asking the same question, why did it take so long to get surgery? He got surgery after the Saints playoff loss to the Buccaneers. This is another surgery. So clearly this is an injury that, 1, either requires multiple procedures, or 2, just hasn't fully healed. And it's probably a mixture of both. And now he's going to miss time. And what does that mean? This literally means, and you guys are hinting at it, and I'll just go through with it. Alvin Kamara is going to be your leading rusher and your leading receiver. And guess what that could lead to? Alvin Kamara taking a huge physical toll on his body through the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season. That is just so much to ask for. And I just don't think that this is fair to him or the team. And it's insane. It's insane. And then I sit here and everyone asks, well, what free agents are out there? The free agent market for wide receivers is basically done. And I'm looking right now like, yeah, you got your Golden Tates out there and That's pretty much it. Des Bryant. I mean, if anyone wants to give D. Westbrook a call, I guess that's a guy you go after. I think Westbrook's a fair guy you go after. But man, that stinks. And you know who this also stinks for? It stinks for whoever wins this quarterback competition, because whoever wins this quarterback competition is not going to have Michael Thomas. And that is a huge deal. You know, we make fun of Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill had 2 games out of the 4 where Michael Thomas had over 100 yards receiving. Like, it's that big of a deal. So I don't know what the Saints are going to do. I trust Sean Payton to have some type of way to overcome this injury to a certain extent. You won't just literally figure this out overnight. But man, this is rough. And I don't know if they want to go to some like Navy style offense and have Taysom Hill sitting there running option plays every other minute with Alvin Kamara. I think that'd be, fucking hilarious if that happens, but I don't know if it's going to. So it's going to be really interesting. It is frustrating, but the one thing I don't want people to do, and obviously to each their own. So if you want to be overly optimistic, go ahead. And if you want to be ridiculously pessimistic, go ahead. I know there's a middle ground somewhere in there, but I think the one thing people have to stop doing, though, is just acting like this wide receiving corps is okay, because this is how we get in the issue in the first place. I mean, when I tweeted that there's no sugarcoating this, I had about 13 different people hit me up and say, yeah, but we got Traquan, or yeah, but they have Callaway, but yeah, they have Deontay Harris. Again, all really nice complementary pieces. But what are complementary pieces without the one guy that gets everything going and the one guy who takes the pressure off them? That's important. If you take away your number 1 option, your number 2 becomes the 1, your number 3 becomes the 2, your number 4 becomes the 3. There's a trickle-down effect to all this. So, whatever we thought Traquan Smith could do this year, or whatever we thought Deontay Harris could do this year, whatever we thought Adam Troutman could do this year, now we have to almost reassess everything, because that was under the assumption that number 13 was going to be out there and doing his thing. And he might in October, he might in November, whenever he comes back, fingers crossed, obviously. But man, it is really frustrating. It is extremely frustrating. And I do agree, and I said this on the last podcast, I think Adam Troutman is going to be good. I think he's going to take a nice step forward. But does this affect him now? Because Adam Troutman, if he takes that next step forward, guess what? He's your second best option in the passing game behind Alvin Kamara. So this is really interesting, and I can't stress it enough. This puts a lot of pressure on an unproven quarterback, whether it's Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill. Now this guy has to get through the at least first 4 weeks of the season, which, by the way, there's no guarantee that Michael Thomas comes back after the first 4 weeks. This could linger. Remember, ankle injuries are tough. We already saw that. And how about the schedule? I mean, the schedule does him no favors either. I mean, the first week of the season, you're playing the Packers. Then you're on the road, you're playing the Panthers. Divisional game, always tough. Then you're playing the Patriots on the road. The Patriots should be a little bit better. And sure, the Giants, people don't expect them to be great, but that's still, you never know. The Giants did add a lot of talent this offseason. So the schedule does them no favors. And it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Now, the Saints have an early bye. And by early bye, I believe it's after week 5. I would sit Michael Thomas through that, assuming that, let's say, he's ready, because let's not make the same mistake twice. Because if they could redo all of last season, first, they would not keep Michael Thomas in while the game is out of reach against the Bucs. And 2, I don't think they would have played that game with Michael Thomas where, all right, he's coming back and he's not coming back. And, maybe he'll come back for the playoffs. He probably would just sat in the rest of the year if they could redo it. And knowing what you know now, it's incredibly frustrating. And I honestly, I wish I had an answer for you guys on how this affects the passing game and how they will be able to overcome it. But I don't have an answer, because even with last year's offense, and obviously Drew wasn't Drew, but there is some type of, I guess, comfort you had with Drew Brees. Granted, that Drew Brees is not what we're accustomed to, but at least there was a comfort in running the offense. There's a lot of questions now. I already had a shit ton of questions, and now I have about 15 more, and it hurts. The only good thing is, let's say Jameis is your starting quarterback. Jameis is putting in a lot of work with Juwan Johnson, a lot of work with Traquan Smith, and a lot of work with Marquez Callaway. So at least there's some camaraderie there. And I guess if you want to be really optimistic and say that's the one thing that you can hang your hat on, I'll hang it on that. But I really don't know how fair that is. So here's my final thing for this. With this Michael Thomas situation, this hurts like a motherfucker. There's no way you can sit here and tell me this doesn't hurt. I mean, when you see that news hit your phone, you kind of just throw your head back here like, you've got to be shitting me. Like, and I can sit here with all these Marvel memes that I throw out, but don't think that I'm not irritated by the news. Like, that stinks. So I think for this team, they got to kind of tread water. Hope you get him back either before the bye or after the bye. I think after the bye is probably the realistic thing in my opinion. And then once you get him back, it's got to be full gas, no breaks. And luckily for the Saints, the timeline adds up to, remember when the Saints play their best football? They kind of play their best football in October and November. And in the beginning of the year, it's tough. So can they tread water when it's tough in the beginning and go 2-2 or 2-3? Because remember, I think 10-7 is a playoff team, maybe 9-8, but I think that's pushing it. So I think 10-7 is a playoff team. So can the Saints go 2-3 without Michael Thomas? Let's say he misses 5 games, or 3-2, and then all of a sudden you kind of pick it up and you finish the season either 7-8, not 7-8, 7-7, I think would be the number right there. Math kill me right now. But either way, the Saints need to finish strong with Michael Thomas in there. But it really is a blow. And I guess if you're the Saints now, do you call the Patriots and ask for N'Keal Harry and see what that costs, even though N'Keal has been unproven? Maybe. I think I would prefer that over free agency, because there's a reason guys are free agents right now at July 23rd. There's a reason. They're not making enough of an impact to get initially signed. It's July 23rd. Training camp started for 3 teams already. You can't look at the free agency market and think that's going to solve your problems, because it's not. So maybe you call, see maybe a 5th or a 6th for N'Keal Harry. You want to pull the trigger, go for it. But this is why we asked for Brandon Ayuk 2 years ago. This is why we asked for Elijah Moore a year ago. It's issues like this, because even when Michael Thomas was healthy, he was the only one doing something. And now the only one doing something is not in your lineup. So this is a really tough pill to swallow. If you guys want to drop questions, and I'll do about like 2-3 minutes of questions before I bounce. Obviously, got other things to take care of today, but wanted to come on here. I have our little vent session here. But I agree. I think this is going to be an offense that has to go a lot of Kamara and a lot of Murray. And then obviously you sprinkle in a Traquan, you sprinkle in Troutman, you sprinkle in Deontay Harris with certain plays that really maximize his skill set. But it's really, really tough. And I will say this about this Saints offseason. I would love if the NFL today can announce the Marshawn Lattimore suspension just to get it over with. Because last week was Onyemata getting suspended. This week it's Michael Thomas getting hurt. I know next week they're going to be like, oh, you thought we forgot about Lattimore? Here's the suspension. Just give it to us now. Get it out of the way. No one wants to deal with another week of an aggravating news report for the Saints before training camp has even started, which is the funniest thing. We all look, and we're all compulsive complainers, especially me. I complain all the time. This offseason really has gone as bad as you can expect for this team. Like, I can't stress it enough. And I haven't even mentioned their rookie cornerback, who obviously people were tweeting about yesterday nonstop. But this really is an issue. As for the question, must have known this was happening, why wouldn't they add wide receiver depth? I said it before, and I'll say it again. I think the Saints, their view of the wide receiver corps is so different from what we see. Like, they think that this can be fixed with an undrafted guy here and an undrafted guy there, or a 7th round pick here. That's not how I see it. That's not how I've been seeing it for the last couple of years. And yeah, maybe when you had Drew Brees in your prime, you could just pick up undrafted guys nonstop. But it doesn't work anymore, in my opinion. What's your opinion on how many weeks he'll miss? Well, if I had to put a guess, and obviously this is all speculative, I think he comes back after the bye week. So what would that mean? He misses the first 5 games. So week 6 bye. I say he misses the first 5 games. That would be my opinion. If the timeline is he misses the first 4 games, why the hell would he come back for the 5th game when you have the bye waiting? That would just be interesting. Super Bowl 30 for 30. Hey, look, I love the optimism. I do that. I find that funny, but who knows? Who absolutely knows? If Book/Trevor are good enough to play backup, have Jameis start and Taysom be Taysom, so that's actually what was going through my head when this news first broke. Taysom Hill's got to be Taysom Hill the flex now. Like, I don't care what anyone says. Like, if he's better than Jameis in the quarterback competition, okay, I get it. Then he's got to start. But if it's like you're splitting hairs, Jameis has to start, and Taysom Hill's got to be Taysom Hill, because this offense is going to need every single playmaker they have, and they're running out of them. And Taysom Hill's one of the only ones they have left. So you got to get Taysom in there, in my opinion. Why did he wait so long? So I said it before. He had surgery in either January or early February. This is the 2nd surgery. So my guess is either they knew he would need a cleanup procedure at some point, or something happened in his recovery or his workout where he had a setback and needed surgery again. So I'm not going to blame Michael Thomas. This is just, it's just unfortunate. adding or trading for a wide receiver really hurts the. Yeah, look, the Xavier Howard trade rumors, I think we should probably put those to bed now, unless the Saints want to go all in on defense and then rely on that. But that would be kind of weird. And plus, I said it before, the Saints trading for a cornerback who wants a new contract while they have a cornerback on their roster who currently wants a new contract kind of makes no sense in terms of logistics, especially when Xavier Howard is older than Marshawn Lattimore. But we'll see what happens there. Is what Lattimore did eligible for multi-game suspension? My guess is, and I don't know, the NFL makes up their own rules with shit like this, but my guess is he probably, if he gets suspended, it's like a 2-game suspension, 3-game suspension at the most. I don't think he gets suspended for a large amount because you have to remember his case in particular. Look, technically he's in the wrong, but there's like levels to what Marshawn Lattimore was caught for and what was going on there. So I think the NFL still probably has to investigate a little bit more before they get a final answer there. All the trade rumors should revolve around wide receiver. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I don't think they will, but, and someone mentioned it. Yeah, I'd trade for Michael Gallup in a heartbeat. He'd instantly be their best receiver in the lineup, but we'll see what happens there. But anyway, guys, I'm going to bounce for this one. Appreciate you guys coming on. Obviously, I'm going to be tweeting all day about this. If you have any questions, any concerns, just tweet at me. I'll talk to you guys on Twitter, obviously, and then I'll be back for another Straight Up Saints, I believe, on either Monday or Tuesday. It could even be on the weekend if something fucking crazy happens, because this has been the most ridiculous week ever. But we'll see what happens. Obviously not the start that we wanted for the Saints, but hopefully better days are ahead. Probably not, but hopefully. But anyway, appreciate you guys tuning in. Appreciate all the comments. I'll talk to you guys on Twitter in just a little bit.